Perfect. Better? Okay, good. All right, cool. Sorry. That would have been awkward the entire time, I guess, like this. So anyway, sorry about that. So anyway, I kind of want to get into it, but I want to give you a little bit of that background and then also give you a background that kind of tells you guys a little bit about what the intention is of this seminar. So the reason we're doing this on Zoom is because part of my journey has been to discover that really you're not going to remember anything in one class, even a 2 or 3 hour seminar. And if you do, you're going to start to depreciate the skills that you learn. You're going to forget. So instead, working on things that will hopefully make you smarter and have ways to keep yourself safe, both preemptively and if you're building up to a situation, as well as potentially during a situation. And then at the end, I'm going to talk to you about ways that you could really learn to defend yourself if in fact you want to be able to be physically able to, right? So I'm going to be talking for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how verbose I get. And then at the end of that, I'm gonna have you guys send me questions. Hi, Kathy, Shea, so you just popped in there. So at the end of it, I'm gonna have you guys send me chat questions, all right? And so we'll kind of see if we can sort through that. If it goes over, that's totally fine with me. We'll start out with, I wanna talk about just the entire kind of situations going on. It sucks, it's scary, it's, you know, pisses off a lot of people that are not Asian like me. And it's something that absolutely has to be addressed. And I do see some good momentum in certain areas, including government. And, but from my level, I want to contribute. And so I'm going to contribute with some of this information. We're going to start with ways you can be safe preemptively. So we can talk about this as planning or precautionary activity, right? So what I mean by that is, and I'm going to apply some of this stuff because this is kind of general self-defense stuff, right? Because people that attack you because of your race aren't much different than ones that attack you in general, right? So first off is things about where you're going to go, what you're going to do. So I'll take it in one level. Let's say that, okay, I am someone who likes to go on walks every morning, and I got to go like 7 a.m. and there's nobody there, and it's great. Maybe you live in a kind of a medium safety neighborhood, but you never had problems for years. Normally that might be fine. Given the situation, if you happen to be Asian, you may want to think twice about that. But you don't just not go necessarily, because a lot of people, especially elderly people, that's their exercise. And so that's important, right? So what you can do is you can ask your sister to go with you, or a loved one or a friend, maybe somebody from your block to go with you, right? So that right there increases your kind of level of safety, which we'll get into a little bit about why you're actually doing your activities, because it's kind of segueing into that. Things that if you absolutely have to do certain things, like you need to go to the store, can you afford to have something delivered to you? It's pretty cheap nowadays. I think a lot of these are kind of free services, depending on what you're doing. Maybe ask somebody to go with you. Maybe ask them to buy for you if you know someone's going to go somewhere. Find friends that might be able to assist you in those things. And if you have to go somewhere, maybe you walk a lot. Maybe it's to the train station or something. If you just don't feel safe, if you want to be extra safe, instead of walking to the train station, maybe take an Uber to the train station, right? So I could sit for the entire hour and just talk about scenarios, but in general, thinking of what's the activity, is there some kind of risk involved in it, and is there a way to mitigate that activity, right? So next I want to talk about, before I forget, because it's kind of an important part, which is what you want to do if you're actually out walking around, right? So when you are out and about, you're basically a potential target to these people, whether it be just a predator wants to mug you or some racist, crazy person. Sometimes they're both. There's ways, of course, you can mitigate that. So, the way you carry yourself is important. If you are someone who likes to kind of be low on the radar and just kind of eyes down, kind of sliding around wherever you go, that might not be the best thing, because a person will feel like they can approach you and won't be challenged, right? So, having more of an upright, confident stance, looking around, and not looking as much like a target, right? Now, you can go to a variety of ways to improve this situation. You could do something, and this is actually something that I don't think is controversial, because it is very legal. If in fact you want to make sure you're safe, if you're guys who are watching this right now, like just upset and want to do something to make yourself and maybe your loved ones a little safer, it's okay to carry a stick. I'm sure a lot of you guys have watched the news about various incidents, and there was that one lady, I forget how old she was. She was quite old, and she used a huge stick and beat the crap out of a guy who attacked her, which good for her. A stick is a very simple weapon, right? So I've trained with a variety of weapons over the years, and a stick or a fighting stick, depends on what type, really a lot of them, as long as it has some weight to it, easy to use, powerful. Secondarily, and way more important to me, is that it is a threat. It is a deterrence, right? So let's say you're someone who wants to either mug, attack, accost, harass. You see someone walking down the street, you see someone walking down the street with a stick. Which one, right? And the stick could be a cane, right? So you don't even have to use it like, oh, I have a bad knee. You could just be carrying a cane, also legal, right? So that's something to consider. Also, to be less of a target, again, being in environments that you know or you can transition into are more public, where you feel safer, and this goes back to, again, some of those activities I talked about, which is, do I go on this walk? Well, maybe you go on the walk at noon because you happen to live in a business district where there's all kinds of people going out to lunch and walk around the street. That might be the perfect time to go for a walk, assuming that, the clientele and stuff are the types that you feel safe around, right? If you're walking and you want to be safer, take routes that are more populated. There's more people around, because again, that tends to be a deterrent for a lot of people. And so, and this, some of the, we can talk about, Kenny Wu just did a in-person class earlier today, and I was watching it, and he had, really good basic kind of ways to deal with someone kind of encroaching upon your space. You feel them coming towards you, which was, you're walking down the street and you just notice it, or your inner alarm goes off, which we're going to talk about next, your inner alarm, and you see somebody might be coming to you. As you're walking, you turn and you look at them in the eye, so they know that you are looking at them, and they know that you're not someone who's afraid, right? And that's your step one. Then you had a step two. If the person keeps approaching, you would say very sternly, can I help you? Do you need something, right? If they keep coming closer, as you're trying to hopefully, maneuver yourself to either a safe position or whatever, you could then be much stronger about it, yelling, back off. If you have something, a weapon of some sort, or if you can threaten them with something like pepper spray, or say, I'm going to call the police. Those type of steps, right? And these are things that you could practice in a self-defense class. And I just want to kind of give you those thought processes, right, that you can go through. Now, before I go to the what I think is one of the biggest ones, which is the inner alarm, I want to talk a little bit more about weapons, because I did talk about it earlier. If you have to fight anybody, then you kind of lost all the other opportunities of being safe. And a lot of times you have no choice, especially nowadays, right? Because it's insane. And we know people just walking down the street, they get attacked from behind and sitting there and, eating lunch, whatever. So I know, and I understand it's chaos. So with that being said, weapons can be deterrents, but most of them you can't open carry, right? You don't want to be walking around with, a sword, right? So the stick I talked about, you can also carry a weapon to actually defend yourself. And those would be ones you wouldn't have to employ strength, pepper spray, taser. And this is one of the main reasons I'm doing this kind of class with you guys, is that if you are going to use or have, and a lot of people that have pepper spray, either of those things, contact your local police station, see where and when they have classes, take the class. If there's a certification that can be had, do it, because you have to know how to use it, right? You have to know, there's some of the technical details about if it's windy, and there's also just kind of procedures of how you would prepare it or aim it or protect yourself from being sprayed. And then thinking about how you apply it. So if you have a pepper spray in your purse or in your pocket or whatever, if it's not ready and someone's quickly approaching you, too late, right? Too late. You might maybe in the middle of a fight be able to grab, but I mean, forget it. You don't want to be in that situation. So you'd want to A, learn how to use those things, B, have them in your hand. Maybe you have your hand in your purse on that, weapon while you're walking to your car, or if you're, for whatever reason, a heightened state of kind of concern or alert, have it ready, right? So if you're going to have any weapons like that, A, make sure you know how to use it. B, make sure it's ready to be used, right? Okay, so talk now about the kind of inner alarm. So some of these things are, and Kenny had a good example of just an observation that might just be an observation, and then some is actually your gut. So an observation might be, let's say you live in a neighborhood that's kind of so-so, and there's kind of a rough looking car, and you maybe have even seen the people that go in and out, and you're like, okay, I maybe not the type of people I want to hang out around, but they've been on the block for a long time, they never cause problems, and so you don't have this big overly strong concern about it, right? But let's say you live in a nice neighborhood, and then you see the same car parked, you just go, okay, what's up with that? You don't need to call the cops or anything, but be aware of it. Is there anything going on? Anybody around? So there's that, right? So just kind of being observant, right? So observance is important. And then secondly would be, we have been programmed since the caveman times to have a reaction to things that are of danger to us that we don't consciously recognize that, right? And so whenever you feel something's wrong, okay, and by the way, everything I say is a combination of things that I've learned, but really my opinion. So if you guys don't agree with things, or you guys want to continue to do other research, definitely do that. I'm not the king of self-protection, but I think have some decent knowledge, right? But that if you feel it, absolutely listen to it. And because this whole thing that we're doing right now is about self-protection, I would say extricate yourself from that situation as soon as possible. Don't kind of feel it out. Don't worry about, am I being rude to this person? Don't worry about that stuff. Just get out. And there are ways to do that, right? So to give you an example, let's say that you are exercising at the park. Maybe you have some music on, or maybe you like to work out and you're filming yourself working out. And then some guys are nearby start kind of talking to you. And, maybe they're 30 feet away, but they keep calling you, talking, hey, what's going on? Not in a way that you would in any way say this is a threat, but let's say you feel like something's wrong, right? If you feel it, listen to it. And you could just grab your stuff and leave, but you could also apply to say, oh, actually my workout's over. Oh, I got to get back to work, and then leave, get the hell out, right? So because we're talking about one decision can make a difference. And since I'm not saying, walk up and hit that person, I'm saying just get out. There's nothing wrong with just leaving a situation. In fact, that's to me the number one thing. So listen to that. So also, I want to talk about how to deal with people that are harassing you. So Kenny has some good examples and descriptions of how you can kind of negotiate with people in kind of a firm way, but also not a challenging way. And I think those were good, but I'm focused right now on you being safe and getting the hell out if possible. So you probably don't need to talk to this person. And so there's ways to deal with a situation where someone is coming up at you and you want to get out of it. And you kind of want to listen to what your inner alarm says and then get out. And that can be, again, a variety of ways of reacting. But if you see them coming at you, you want to get away. And you'd want to get away could be towards, there's a group of people over there. And I think if I go there, you decrease your chances of being a target, right? So always listen to that. That's super important, regardless of anything. So, okay, going through pretty fast. Okay, so there's something that I really like, because this is where I think that my personal experience of training and fighting and things, I haven't not a fighter, but I've done martial arts and sparring for like ever. Things that I know, okay, well, this is going to equal that. So what I mean is, if you have, for example, a self-defense weapon that I mentioned earlier, or if you have some kind of app, like, something to GPS, or there's a way you can like hold down on your phone and set off that alarm. All those things, they have to be ready, right? You can't do that if you have 3 seconds before someone's on top of you. So there's some really good apps out there. And some of the apps was one in particular I liked. You're all going to get an email, by the way, after this from Tammy, which basically lists some of the top apps by the people that were kind of reviewing these apps for self-protection, that you can do. And there's one that, if there's not that exact one, you can probably search and find it or find something similar. But I like the one I'm about to tell you about. I couldn't find it again when I searched, so I'm not sure exactly. You do want to see the ratings, but essentially the app was where you would activate it. And what you do is you hold your thumb on the screen, right? So you're just carrying it, but every thumb pressed on the screen. Now, if your thumb comes off the screen for, I think, 10 seconds, it will give you like a warning kind of buzzer of some sort. And then after X amount of seconds later, you'll full alarm, GPS, sent to the police, 911, right? So this is where it's very practical. If I'm walking to a place, or I just want to go on my walk and want to feel safer, you have that charge, you hold it, it's easy to carry a phone. And then if you're attacked or knocked down or anything, you let go of it involuntarily. Within seconds, this alarm is going off, right? So using these things and using them practically can be very powerful, at least make you feel safe. And I'll tell you also another good thing about all this is, most likely none of you folks that are watching this are going to have to deal with this. We're seeing it happen way too often. And it's scary and it's angry and all those things, but the chances are still pretty low. But if you can walk feeling safer and have less stress in your life, and then also on the off chance something does happen, now you actually maybe have something practical to defend yourself, right? So an app that gets the police to you as soon as possible, right? So other stuff. Okay, I talked about harassment, 911. Okay, so I talked a little bit about it. So if approached aggressively, so you really want to keep your distance right away. And again, because if I just talk about it, and even if we had a class and practice it once, you might remember, and then over time, kind of these things go away. But there's a kind of a thought process of, don't look like a target. Don't, look the person in the eye. Keep that distance. If they encroach that distance or start to encroach the distance, can I help you? Right. So again, it's something where they might not want to come after you. And then more firmly, when you're truly in danger, you give them a very stern, back off, stop, stay away from me. And then you have some kind of threat. I'm going to call the police. I have this safety app that's going to go off. You maybe have to have pepper spray or whatever it is. You raise your stick. Those are kind of the process if it gets that far. Now, what I want to talk about, and I think I started talking about it but lost track of it, is also dealing with a situation where someone is harassing you in a way that's doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to attack you, but that they're harassing you, right? So there's another one that pissed me off, for lack of a better term. This lady who was going to a Stop Asian Hate with her young daughter, and she was in a subway, I think in New York, and a guy grabbed her sign, and I think either stomped on it, tried to throw it in the trash, or both. Now, my advice, as I said before, sense some dangers. This is not good. Just get out. Just get away. Like there's no reason to stick around. The lady may have been afraid, or maybe felt that she could appeal to the person, or maybe wanted to kind of show to her daughter that you can be kind of strong and stand up for yourself. She said, "Hey, what are you doing?" or "Why'd you do that?" and he punched her in the face, right? So get away from those situations as much as you can if these things ever happen. Now, what I'm not talking about, by the way, is circumstances where you may need to help somebody else. There's a lot of discussion about, I think in general, I'm going to say the Asian community, but in general, people just not, helping each other as much as they should. That's not really what I'm here for. I think that, you can kind of assess what you feel you should do. And there should be some obvious things. Like the first thing to do would be to, if you're physically able and don't feel that you'd be in incredible danger, if someone's being hurt, physically intervene. A better thing to do probably is 911. And then maybe if after 911 or somebody else in 911, you can film as well, right? So, and I don't mean everybody film it, right? But that's not really part of what I'm doing. I'm really thinking of you as a person being attacked. Now, if you're with a loved one, this is where the sticks come in handy, right? This is where a weapon comes in handy if you don't have kind of means to defend yourself. There's some things I'll talk about with practicing self-defense. These things can be even more useful. But I just want to mention that I'm not really talking about that at length. That's basically what I'm going to talk about right now, because it's about each one of you. How can it keep you safer and reduce the chances that something bad or really bad happens to you, right? Okay. So yeah, and so again, talking about leaving. So I do want to talk about calling 911, right? So if you have a person approach you and you have to get away, if you truly feel that you're in danger, get to a safe spot, a safe distance, or maybe they're still following you, call in 911. So as soon as you can safely call 911, call 911. Do that, right? Okay, so now we're talking about actually defending yourself. So let's say you don't have a weapon and you aren't trained. You haven't been doing martial arts or contact fighting before, which is most people. If you are attacked or even harassed or pushed around, that can cause a lot of reactions that are not what you want. You could be afraid, and you can, act out in a way where you slap the person that maybe you don't want to be slapping somebody, or you freeze, which is way more common. A lot of things can happen. And so that's something that can be mitigated. And the main way for that is getting yourself into some kind of regular activity that is stressful, but of course controlled, ideally something combat related. And it's a variety, there's a scale of what that could be, right? Okay, so let's say that you did our kickboxing classes at Impact for 5 years. And aside from a specific class, we don't normally have sparring. Aside from our self-defense class, we don't practice applying it, except for just drills. You're hitting the bag, you're hitting the pads and all that stuff. Now, if you're physically attacked by somebody because you've been training for years just to hit stuff, to react, you know how to punch, you know how to kick, you're going to be much better at mitigating the situation. And what I mean by that is they might hurt you, but you start fighting back. You land a couple of blows, maybe something happens that they're kind of hurt. They're not going to want to stick around. Instead of you freezing and then just being a victim, which again is more common. Okay. Then now I want to go to the far end of it, where if you do something where it's like a full contact or a hard, fast wrestling jiu-jitsu class, these are the things that very directly apply, especially if you do it a lot. So in the self-defense class that I teach a lot of it on the ground, because that's the part where most people don't know instinctively how to react. Everyone can kind of swing their arms and, even kind of kick, I guess. But on the ground, if someone's bigger than you and they're on top of you and you don't know what's going on, you can just be like a fish out of water, right? And so if you know how to do those things, you will react. If you've been doing jiu-jitsu for, even just 6 months, and someone knocks you down, they get on top of you, you have things that you do. And the person on top of you might not know anything, and you have an advantage because you've actually trained with something on the ground. Then you go to something that hopefully is a good self-defense class. And I would waver. I mean, I would say that if you just do jiu-jitsu, that's probably gonna be better than just a self-defense class, depending on what the format is. But or if you spar heavily, if you're like, I'm a fighter, I want to be a fighter. Again, these things allow you to react. You get hit. I've been hit in sparring. I'll hit him back, right? And so you don't freeze. You can also then stay calm. Okay, so I'm not talking about just fighting back constantly. So a lot of situations I've been in, I haven't been in very many since high school, but whenever somebody does get kind of aggro, I stay calm because I'm not afraid, not any more than, I should be. You should always be afraid, but I'm not terrified and I'm not frozen because I feel confident in, hey, if something happens, I have my balance, I have my ability to strike back, I can react, I feel okay. So therefore you can talk, you can do and say things you need to do without overreacting or, acting appropriately. So that's super important for self-defense. And you can be someone who just does, forms and katas all the time. And that teaches a technique. But if you never spar, that's nearly as good. It's not nearly as good if you did spar, right? Because, I've heard stories, and there's probably fairly common. Somebody who does martial arts, but they haven't actually sparred, they get attacked, they freeze, all the moves they know are kind of useless, right? And then also know that we're all in the same boat. And what I mean by that is, regardless of if it's me and I've been trained for a long time, or someone who's an active MMA fighter, all these things, if you're attacked in a situation where you're unaware, if they hit you from behind, if they have a weapon or whatever, we're all in the same boat, right? So know that you're not a bunch of sheep out there, that we're all in the same kind of boat. So as long as we think about the other things, about awareness, listening to your inner alarm, to the decisions you make, or maybe mitigating situations by having people with you, walking with that stick, then you're less likely to be jumped, right? So I'll just talk a little bit more about that part. All these attacks that are happening, or not all of them, there's a variety of things going on, right? And again, my opinion, but I've been paying attention, I think. So you have just the garbage racists that are just feeling like they can express themselves. And, if any of you guys voted for Trump, I'm sorry to be political, but I blame him a lot. Not for the fact that there's racism, but the fact that it's worse, right? The Kung flu and China virus and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's just stoking those flames, right? So there's people that just feel like they can act out and they just want to, and so they're doing it. There's people that are mentally ill a little bit, and they will then find an outlet to attack somebody. And they go, oh, everyone's attacking Asians today, so that's what I'm going to pick on. Maybe it was Muslims or Mexicans before, right? So there's those type of peoples, but then there's also the predators. And those are the people that quite often are looking to either just really hurt you because they're just sick people, or they're looking to rob you. Okay, so this is one of the most important parts, because I just watched a video today. I want to talk about being robbed. So if these predators see an opportunity to rob you, whether it be just not your fault because, oh, you have a phone on you, well, yeah, so does everybody else. Well, they decide that, oh, these Asian people, they're all targets nowadays, and let's just find some 70-year-old woman or whatever, right? Here's my advice, because I've seen almost all the videos that I've seen, a woman being dragged like she was hanging on to the car while I was driving off. I did see this older gentleman who successfully fought a guy off, but the guy was trying to rob him. And I saw a lady who was going to her car. She was getting out of her car, just parked home. I guess she'd been followed, and the guy pulled up, and I think initially had a gun or something, but he was grabbing her stuff, and she fought, right? And he got, some Rolex watch and whatever else. Okay, so in my estimation, totally not worth it. Totally not worth it, right? Because, think about your, I'm getting emotional now. Good thing there's not 50 people watching me. So think about your family, right? So it's not worth it. If someone's going to want to take something you own, just give it away. Just let them have it, right? I mean, be prepared to do that too. Don't think like, oh, I'll react based on whatever happens. Like, ahead of time, no, I'm going to go ahead and just give them whatever. Now, that being said, there may be ways to mitigate what you might have to worry about. So maybe you don't have to carry a purse on you. Maybe you don't need to bring all the credit cards, or don't bring cash, whatever it is, or bring cash and let them take it, right? You don't have to wear the really nice watch if you're in a place that is maybe where you might be accosted, right? But that's fine. And that's, I don't, not victim blaming, but I'm saying that if you want to have less things stolen from you, then don't make them accessible, right? But do not fight. It is not worth it to fight for some object you're carrying. So we're already at, okay, so 132, we're doing pretty good. Last part I want to mention, and I did mention, if it wasn't clear, if you really want to be able to defend yourself, you want to need to train, right? Now, again, you could get the pepper spray, the stun gun. I dislike guns, and the permit to carry gun is really hard to get in California, so I wouldn't say necessarily get that. But aside from that, training, right? And it could be, again, anything is almost doing like a turbo kick class at 24-hour. I mean, that's something. That's something. It's not great, but it's definitely something. To the far end, I go 5 days a week. Like Bennett team comes all the time. He's my age. He's fairly slight, but I think he can probably fight back pretty well because he trains all the time. Depends on what your priorities are. And I think most of you don't want to do that. And I don't think you should. But if you really want to, you have to train. So to that end, and there's zero upsell on this, and hopefully you can tell earlier because I was getting teary-eyed over talking about stealing your purse. But everybody on this stream right now is can have a 1 month free membership at our gym. We're not going to upsell you anything. We're not going to follow up anything. We want you to be able to feel like you're doing something during this month, to maybe feel empowered a little bit, maybe build up a little bit of skills to punch or kick and feel a little bit, safer, and maybe technically be safer, at that time, and de-stress, right? And get all out. So if you want to, Tammy's going to be sending an email anyway that basically talks about that as well. So anybody, but you have to be on the stream, because we got to give a month free to anybody who wants it, because then we'll be out of business in 6 months. But you guys, because you care about self-defense, you're here, that extends to you guys. That's it. So now we're at 135 or so. What I want you guys to do is, please, if you have any questions, go ahead and hit a chat message for me. You will see my camera going away while I check it, but I'll come back. So as I see them, I'm going to kind of pop them up, and I'll see how many I can get through. With a lot of you guys. Also, if you have anything you'd like to add, right? Because again, I don't know everything, okay? But hopefully you have heard what you think might be practical advice. But if you have something to add to it, some other resources you want to bring up that I can share, that's all cool. You can also reach out to Tammy or myself at any time. We're easy to find. I'm Eric at impactkbf.com. Tammy is the same. She's Tammy at impactkbf.com. But you can get hold of us easy if you need to follow up or ask questions. We do have the women's self-defense, which may segue into just a self-defense class. We'll be starting that once. Actually, we're doing one fairly soon because I'm vaccinated. A lot of my members are of that crew are vaccinated, so I might start that, but maybe we'll do a second one. But that's really just based on what people want, if they really want to sign up, because that's an ongoing thing. But anyway, I'm done. I'd like to see some chat questions pop up. Okay, great. David, what's up, buddy? Yes. Okay, so David says property is always replaceable. Your life is not. Absolutely, right? Okay. All right, so again, you're going to see the video go away a few times because as chat comes in, I'm going to pop it up on my phone. But with a lot of you guys, there must be people who have something to add or question or whatever. There we go. Okay. So Vince Lee says, Eric, thanks for your info and humility and your anger. Do you have recommendations for training for seniors? Okay. Yeah, so that's a great question. So again, I like to be practical. So I'm 53. I've had 3 ACL replacements. I have a new shoulder that I got last July here. I'm on my road to recovery, and I already feel what it's like to be that age, to have these issues. I try and stay healthy, and I'm okay. So I can imagine someone's even older than me by 10, 20 years, and maybe haven't been doing things that related if they're not already fit. So if the senior is already semi-fit, then I think they can go to anyone. I do like Jiu-Jitsu classes because to me, one of the most dangerous positions to be in is when someone's on top of you, punching you or whatever they're going to be doing. You want to be in an environment where you can defend yourself. And so that's good. Something like a boxing class, I wouldn't say kickboxing because, you don't need to be throwing kicks for the first time when you're in your 60s, right? But that also, I mean, all you need is one good punch, being able to learn how to block, learn how to move your feet a little bit, right? So those 2 things I think are good. Depending on the program, an ongoing self-defense class, but with the seniors, Vince, I would say just keep it going. Whatever they do, keep it going. And it sucks because, like that poor gentleman, the first one that I'd heard of that became like a big deal, that happened in San Francisco, that I think was a Thai gentleman. And I think he was maybe in his 80s or something. And he got knocked over, died, right? So it's very hard. They're really just vulnerable seniors, right? So my recommendation would be, if they're fit enough, put them in one of those classes I mentioned, but more importantly, apply the things I said earlier about those same seniors. Can they get rides? Can they have people with them? As long as home is safe, which is generally the case, then when they're in environments where they're not try and give them situations where they can be better protected. Other questions? Okay, so from Rita Ram, she says, can you please review again on how to not feeling frozen when harassment happens? What's the first reaction to being how to train the mind not to freeze? Yes. Okay. So again, I think that's a great question, right? And I brought up earlier is you really don't know until you've been in that situation. And the closer you can get to a stressful, violent situation, the better, because it prepares you and you learn how to react to the to how your chemical reactions in your body, right? And so this is where I would say, if you're afraid of freezing, then go to a self-defense class, do it often. Go to a kickboxing class, empower yourself so you feel stronger. Do a class like a jiu-jitsu class or something similar. All those things can help. Now, I had something I thought that was going to be useful. Oh, okay. So I didn't talk about this, and it's important too. How you carry yourself can be conscious. It can also be unconscious, subconscious. So if you, again, have been training some martial art, let's say you're a black belt, that maybe you weigh, 105 pounds soaking wet, and maybe you're more of a technique person, but you're a black belt, maybe you're a second-degree black belt, you've been doing a long time. Regardless of how good you really are defending yourself, you carry yourself like you can defend yourself, and you may even react appropriately. So I'm not saying go in there and get strangled, but if you are able to do something that's going to empower you, you're more likely to be able to react appropriately to freezing. Because like I said, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's why I brought it up earlier. You can train all you want, but once somebody's hitting you or pushing you around, it's scary, and you gotta hopefully be ready for that, right? There's some more questions that came up. Somebody check them out. Where is it? Chat. Chat. Here we go. Okay, so got 2 from Michelle. Hi, Michelle. So it says, I'm not in good shape, going through weird body condition where I get headaches easily from doing cardio. That sucks. Is there a training or martial art that would be good for me to try out first? My spine is a little twisted, so my hips and arms don't have the strength I used to. So yeah, I'm sorry you're going through all that. So I think in a lot of ways you can think of it as a situation where kind of like a senior or someone who is just, never done physical activity. And I know you have, because if it's Michelle, I think it is, you've taken my class before. But if you're now in a situation where you're not, your best bet is going to be all those steps that I mentioned before. If you're really worried about your self-defense, carrying a stick, making sure you always have friends with you, doing those things to stay safe. And then if you really want to have something to fight back with, something like, aside from the stick, taser, pepper spray. But again, those things work, but you have to train with them. You have to know how to, right? So that's what I would suggest for that. And then also, okay, so I think I don't want to miss your question entirely. How should I start, right? So you don't have to do cardio. A fight, a real attack will generally last like 10 to 30 seconds. So you could do something that's slower paced. And so in that case, I would find a martial art or something where you can kind of go at your own pace, right? Learn technique, couple hard punches, pause or move around or whatever it is, and then do a couple more, right? So you can kind of ease into it. And I hope you get everything right, but I would say just ease into whatever you're and maybe try stuff. And you can feel free to reach out to me if you have other stuff. So I'm getting more questions. Let me hit that too. Okay, so it's a long one from my friend April I used to work with. Okay, so hey, Eric, thanks for pulling this together. By the way, it's much appreciated. You're very welcome. I wish I could do more. Do you have some questions? I do have some questions for you as well as for the group in general. You mentioned taking an Uber instead of walking somewhere. Some people are attacked in Ubers, yes. Many single women or small persons don't feel safe taking ride shares or similar, yes. Any ideas and ways to defend yourself in a vehicle or getting out of one? So, yeah, that's a good question. Let me do that one first. I'll go back to the other question because there's more. So, yeah, if anyone else wants to answer, I think one of the biggest things would be to then go with the buddy system again. Take an Uber with your friends somewhere, or maybe I could be completely wrong, and this is where I have no research on it, but maybe you can do research on, hey, if someone's been driving for X amount of years, or they have 5 stars, with so-and-so votes or whatever, maybe, you have more chances of kind of being safe. I don't know if women can choose how only women drive them. I don't know all these things. What would I say? So, okay, so let's say that I don't have any information because I'm just talking. Maybe you can find ways to get rides from people. So let's say that you go to the train after your work, but you have coworkers. Find a coworker who has a car. Say, hey, can you drive me to the train station? If it's a convenient timing. Whatever you need to do, yeah. But yeah, I know it sucks about, women in a lot of ways, or can feel afraid all the time, right? But I would say that in general, probably the numbers would probably speak to this, is that you're more likely to be accosted walking to a place than taking a ride share. That would be my guess. That's all I have on that one. If anyone else has an answer, definitely add it. So there's another question that April had. So she says, okay, yeah, for those with long hair, any immediate ideas on how to deal with someone grabbing your hair? Maybe this is something that will be covered in class. Yeah, so April, I have done tons of research on how to deal with hair grabs. And I'm not talking like, medium or short hair grabs. I'm talking like ponytails or really long hair. The fact of the matter is those are handles, and they're very hard to kind of break out of. So what I tell people is, if you really feel like you need to be safe, get shorter hair. And I'm actually looking at Debbie Huey's picture, or at least I don't know what her hair looks like now, but it's like right below her ears, looks nice, still looks, if you want to look at feminine, still looks great. That would probably be a good hair length, because it's like a lot of men's hair in general. But no, okay, but I will tell you that within the realm of self-defense, if someone's grabbing your hair, yes, they probably have you now kind of locked down, but that hand is now busy grabbing your hair, and you have two arms. So you can do things like grab their wrist so they're not yanking your head as violently. And so you have a little more control over it. You apply, if you're on the ground, apply some jiu-jitsu with your legs. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, old MMA fights, I watched some in the 90s. There's a guy, long ponytail, and for much of the fight, the guy held his ponytail tight and kept hitting him. Because he's a fighter, he was able to kind of mitigate that in the ways that you would with clinching and doing other things. But the unfortunate reality is that hair is not, it's something that's an advantage for the opponent, right? So if I had a better answer for you, I would definitely want to give you one. So another thing here. So I think it's another April here. Yeah, okay. Okay, so ideas on how not to appear like a target. I've tried not looking Asian. Okay, well, keep looking Asian because Asians are awesome. Wearing headphones without sound, so I appear like I cannot hear someone, or otherwise not drawing attention, and have been harassed, followed, attacked nonetheless. I've also tried appearing confident, unafraid, and like I belong, and am not lost. I've been harassed and followed regardless. I'm curious what other people have. So if you guys have things to add, let's see. Yeah, nobody has anything to add yet. Please do, but I'll talk to that point real quick. So, and I know, right? So one of the reasons that I started doing this, and again, it's Tammy, it's Kenny Wu, I've had assistance from one of my members, Rain. But why we're doing this is because of stories I heard, like April, who wrote about something that happened to her while she was jogging way early in the coronavirus thing. And so what I would say is, if you carry a stick, I just say, Eric just said carry a stick. When we talk for an hour, I'm carrying a stick. If you had a stick, and I don't know if you can like sling it on your back or something, that might be a way to deal with it. Yeah, Eric Paulson, exactly, David. That's so funny. So David Chow, he's a big MMA fan, and yeah, so it was Eric Paulson. Oh wait, actually, no. Okay, let me see us here. I might be a different story. But let me finish the part real quick. I'm going to go to David. I may have misread because I'm seeing a partial chat. But so April, all those things, yeah, it's like people know, oh, well, I outweigh her by 50 pounds, and she's a girl, and I know that from my experience, I can intimidate women, so I might just go for it anyway, right? But if you have a stick, they may still say something, I guess. I mean, it's probably quite possible, but I would guess the chances they're going to come up on you would be greatly reduced. And I would think that there's ways you could sling it on your back, like have a thing where you just pull it out. We could just be running with it. It doesn't have to be big, right? I mean, it could be like, baton sized, right? But you have something that's big enough that looks like, don't mess with me. And it sucks, but I know you like to run too, right? Like, again, garbage. Hopefully maybe you can find some running partners. But yeah, so I don't have good answers for you. I just have my honest things that I've, learned. So I'm sorry I don't have good answers. So, she says, you need not go through all of these, by the way. I already did. Okay, so now David says, Eric Paulson in the World Combat Championship back in 1996 had long hair. So yes, that's exactly the guy I was talking about, which is why I was commending him for knowing. Yeah, so nobody had long hair after that, before they took away hair pulling. Okay, so Michelle case, yeah, I'm Asian, can't hide my eyes. Please continue to be Asian, continue to be proud of it. I'm married to a Filipino, my business partner's Chinese, Bruce is my hero, so be as Asian as you want to be, right? Okay, anyway, this is not you're not asking for affirmation. She says, I wear sunglasses and hats to cover my face, and sometimes I would walk straight and confident. Sometimes I look down and not make eye contact, and don't draw attention to myself. So my question to you, Michelle, because those things sound good, like all the right activities. Michelle, have you ever been harassed, especially within this last kind of tranche of time, or do you feel like it's helped? If you can chat back, and while you're doing that, I think I had another chat, but I'd like to know but I'd say, yeah, those are things you need to do. Yeah, so that's all the questions I have right now. Here we go. Oh, it's David. Okay, so David has something here. Oh, it's a long one. Okay, so this would be something I could try and share later. Handheld flashlight. Okay, yes, great, excellent, thank you. So uh, I'll read it out. So this is going to be recorded. So you guys, hopefully it's being recorded. Nice shit. If not, I'll follow up. Anyway, so he says a handheld flashlight, 300 lumens, and use it very bright. You don't need a license to carry it. Actually comes in handy for yes, I mean, you can use this as weapons. Police will and security will as well. And it can temporarily blind people in the eyes. Yes. Costco currently sells 3 packs of Duracell flashlights, 550 lumens for $20. Okay, so some details. The main takeaway from that is, yeah, I didn't bring it up, and I probably should. And so I'll add that to my kind of list of weapons. Carry a big heavy flashlight. Make sure it's a big heavy one, right? Because again, yeah, those can be like clubs. I like sticks because they're even more obviously weapons and they have a little more range, right? But yeah, I think flashlights are fantastic, and I would not say no. That's a great one, David. We still have, I mean, at least 7 minutes. If people keep asking, I'm not going to turn this off. But if anyone has other questions, I would love to hear them, or if they have some input. My coffee's super cold now. Anything you guys have? Okay, so until I see some chat, see if there's something else that I can add. Yeah, okay, so what I'll do is so please interrupt me with your questions, because I'm just going to fill up the last 7 minutes, because that gives people opportunities to ask questions if they haven't formulated one yet. So the self-defense training that I offer now, and again, I'm not trying to sell anything, but just ways to look at ways to approach it, is initially we talk about a lot of the talking points we just did. When I do kind of, I would do like 4 to 6, 1.5 hour kind of sessions with like a group of people, like coworkers or something. I think there's some value in that if you do it that many times, but then they do need to come back, right? Like refresh it, so to speak. We talk about those things, but then we practice walking with confidence, telling people to back off, practicing like I put people in a chair and say, I'm approaching you, react, right? So we drill those things, that's why I like the self-defense as one of the good ways to mitigate acting incorrectly. Okay, so now I have a question from Lisa Wong. Okay, I've heard the one reason it's better not to carry a stick, flashlight, etc., is that your attacker could use it against you, right? Yep. Okay. Thoughts? Good. So I'm getting more questions. So let me answer that one from Lisa. So yeah, I mean, that is the kind of age-old counter to having weapons, is they're going to take it away from you. So if the weapon can be a deterrent, then I think has a lot of value, because for a person to take it away from you, that means assuming that they see it, that means I have to assess, like, okay, this person has something to hurt me. I'm going to come at them anyway, and I'm going to try and take it from them. That's several steps of difficulty, especially for a predator to go through, to really want to do that still. And if you're trained in the pepper spray, or you're trained in the taser, or you're trained in whatever other weapon, because I mean, there's Filipino stick fighting, right? I mean, there's ways to fight with a stick. It's you can use that. You're going to have a much better chance of staying safe than if someone just takes it from you. It is a personal decision, right? For sure. And if you are not someone who thinks you're going to react appropriately, if maybe you raise whatever weapon, the stick, but you just can't bring yourself to hit somebody, then yeah, maybe not carry it. But again, to me, the deterrent factor is huge. So again, I have people that have taken my kickboxing class for years, and they have varying degrees of ability, and some of them more than others. But the ones that don't have as much as the other people, they still have confidence, and they carry themselves a certain way, they react a certain way. And I promise you, the predators can feel that. And so anything you do to dissuade them is value. So I think weapons can be good if that's, you feel like I can't walk with a friend and all these other things, like, well, if you have to walk 4 blocks through an area where you don't feel safe, unless you have like that, that safety app or something ready and whatever, then I would say a weapon might not be a bad idea. But you got to know how to use it and you got to be ready to use it. Okay. So other questions I had, so I had a few at once. So again, Debbie, I might have missed if you mentioned it, but how do you feel about super loud pocket alarms? So yeah, I do like those. So, it's varying degrees of what you want to do. So a lot of these safety apps have those, but anything that's going to turn the attacker off, if you're in an environment where, there are people just around the corner, yes, I think it's great to do something that's going to make noise, because that's why alarms are useful. I mean, alarms do call the cops, but mostly people are worried about neighbors and drawing attention to themselves for people taking videos of them, or of them in their car when they leave. So yeah, I think that's part of the back off thing, which is part of the training. You yell back off, you're also learning people in the area, right? So yes, Debbie, I do think that's a thing. All these things are just different things, ways to help yourself a little bit. Okay, that's got a long one here. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate the feedback of weapon as a deterrent. Great. What kind of ways to hold onto items when going for walks or runs do you recommend? Yeah, whether it be like backpacks or bags. Okay. So, if it's a bag that you think okay, my opinion, right? I mean, I don't know, I'm not a cop and I haven't practiced mugging people. But if you feel like this bag could be something they're going to want to take, I wouldn't do something like strap it on your back, because then they're going to be yanking you around. You're going to be like jostled and kind of beat up. I'll make sure I got the question right, because I think it said on a run. Let me see here. So it said walks or runs. Okay, so I mean, running with a bag, I mean, it's, yeah, you want to have it secure enough so it's not going to jostle around. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a good answer for that. I hopefully just can not have the bag. Walks are different. Like, if you have to go on a walk with a bag because maybe you're going to school and you have a bunch of books, and now I act like it's 1985 and people don't have ebooks all the time now. But I don't have a good answer for that. But just be aware that if it's something strapped to your back, they can grab it. It could be an issue. Okay, so I'm getting more now. This is good. So let me try and catch up here. Okay. All right. So then from Michelle, so this is her answer about as she's been harassed. Haven't been harassed since COVID and anti-Asian, thankfully, but I'm super paranoid and terrified to walk on the street. Yes, and that's what sucks. I'm usually alone walking for exercise, so I'm always hiding behind my sunglasses and hats. I've experienced harassment before and would just run as fast as I can. That's great. I mean, it sucks, but that's a really good way to do it. I also got mugged, but pretended I didn't see him or his gun. Probably not a good idea to walk away, but just felt like if he didn't know, I didn't know if it was dangerous. I thought he would not see me as a threat. I was really stupid, but didn't want to give him my bag, because in the moment I felt like gave him my bag, he will ask for more. Yeah. What if he wants to hurt me? I feel like hiding my face helps, because less people notice me. I know March shut down last year when I went to Costco. Immediately people walked away from me because I'm Asian. The time that there were rumors about I come from China, so it's not much known. So I already know people out there who are not open-minded and possibly racist. So I'm playing it safe, covering my face. Okay, so on that part, again, this is just Eric talking, right? I don't have all the answers, but I'll give some of my opinions on it. Hopefully the earlier part about belongings can kind of stick a little more. Now, it may have been because you're so terrified that you went through these different kind of emotions of like, give me my stuff and this is going to lead to something else. But know that if they want to take your stuff, they should have your stuff. If something else is going to happen after that, then you want to try and get away, fight back if you can. But don't think that, that that item is important. Now I know there's fears of like, oh, now they have my ID, and I know that stuff's scary too, but give them everything would be my advice. You answered your question about being harassed. So, maybe you haven't been harassed because of the way you carry yourself, like you said. I'm hoping that has been a factor in things. Okay, so next one. Okay, so got a few here. Okay, so David Chef said, yes, they're great deterrents. I think you might be out with flashlights. Predators don't want to be caught and don't want to be hurt. People usually use flashlights at night, are usually security cops. Okay, good point. I feel the benefits outweigh the potential negatives. Yeah, so again, the deterrent factor for weapons. Okay, so Michelle said, when I was in Safeway, I didn't wear sunglasses, just waiting on. This makes me so sad. You guys should have to worry about this. I mean, we're all freaking human beings, and these other people are less than for, pick on you guys. But anyway, just didn't wear sunglasses, just waiting in line. This was maybe summer, a couple months into March COVID. A big man was walking through, and he went behind me and pushed me to walk through and said something ignorant in Asian language. So I definitely felt targeted. But since all these Asian attacks covering my face, I feel safer, not a target. Okay, so basically, I mean, okay, so let's talk about, again, just keeping you guys safe. Yeah, I mean, I would say that if these people are targeting Asians, if you don't look Asian by having the mask, which we'll be wearing probably still for several months, and have big sunglasses, and then whether things, they just might just see some other person. So that is a way. I mean, you shouldn't have to, but there's a thing about just being safe. And if that's working for you, maybe it is. Maybe you didn't have it, and so that's where that, asshole came at you. Okay, so because I'm gonna have more questions, I keep moving. So yeah, okay. So April may be reading it too. Good idea on the face mask, sunglasses, and hats, Michelle. I've done that too, mostly to be less of an obvious mark for AAPI hate right now. Regarding running or walking, I've started taking a whistle and pepper spray with me, which are pretty legit. I won't bog you down. I've stopped running with my running pack, right? Which can be nicer for water during long runs. Yeah. Oh, that was probably that question too. Yeah. I would just have a small pack, I guess. But maybe April can give some input about how to carry those. I also carry my ID, turn on my location on my phone, and wear neon colors in case something happens and someone needs to find me. Oh, geez. Okay, yeah. I'm not carrying I don't know, a BF stick, but a stick, though. Oh, not tried. So maybe she would. Okay, I'm caught up now with questions. Okay, so we're at 2:04, but I'm happy to keep going. Basically, if anyone has other questions, I'm going to give you guys, basically, if we go for like 2 minutes without a question, I'll just kind of sign off and thank you. I will say if this is being recorded, it might be my mistake if it wasn't, but I can follow up if you aren't clear on these talking points. And you will be getting an email from Tammy about the apps that I recommend or that were recommended that I looked at and seemed pretty legitimate, and stuff like that. Joey, hey Joey. So Joey, oh good. Someone says I see it being recorded. Thanks, Jania. It's one of my ninjas at Impact. Okay. Yeah. So okay. So Michelle asked, "Can you guys are almost talking to each other? This is great. Can we have access to the recording later to watch?" So that's a good question as to how Tammy's going to do that. But absolutely yes. I'll talk to Tammy about making sure that one is accessible. We'll figure that out. Vicky, thank you so much. Great. I'm glad. Yeah, Vicky, my hope is that you walk with at least one good thing, right? Okay, Joey said, I have to drop off. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, my pleasure, of course. Oh, here we go. David, Runner's World Magazine did a great series on runner safety last year and apply to everybody. So you guys look at the chat, copy that link, right? And it's runnersworld.com and then Runners Alliance, okay? Yeah, Michelle, thank you. Lisa, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you guys are all super, super welcome. And like I said, if it is of value to you, if it maybe make you feel safer or better, and here's the impetus for the 1 month. Not necessarily to be like, oh, you know what, I do want to do this for self-defense, or oh, I like the classes or whatever, right? Is to make you feel like you're doing something, empower you, make you stronger, and give you an outlet hitting bags can be very cathartic. And you might even feel, at least during that month, that if someone comes up to you, you're going to give them a good, hook punch or roundhouse kick or something, and that will make you feel less fearful, and you can live your life more calm, right? Because again, I'm a super realist. Probably none of you guys are going to be attacked. Now, unfortunately, April's been harassed a lot, which sucks. Probably no one's ever been attacked. But if you can now walk with a little more confidence based on some knowledge or acting upon that knowledge, you can live your life more calmly with more harmony, as you all should. If anyone has any other questions, because mostly I just have people basically saying thanks, and David had that one bit about runner safety. But if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and sign off, and I will make sure that Tammy gets this to you. Here we go. Lots of thank yous. Yeah, thank you. It does help to be mentally prepared and be equipped with something on walks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, you guys are all super welcome. Yeah, all you guys, Vince, Chris, all you guys. And this, by the way, of course, this is not just Asian safety. It's because you guys need it right now more than anybody else. But it applies to anybody. So you can feel free to share this video with anybody else who wants to be safe. Again, I'm not the magic man, but based on your responses, I think there's things that come out of this that are hopefully practical and will help you. And if you want to go the full route of really being able to defend yourself, there's also ways, right? Okay, so April said, thanks everyone, stay as safe as you can out there, stay strong, we're in this together, absolutely. Thanks again for leading this conversation. Joyce, Joyce, good to see you. Yeah, my pleasure, you guys. All right, and Kathy Shea, so Kathy, I'll talk about her in a second. Thank you, Eric, my ninja. I'm taking your in-person self-defense class in the future for sure. It's always good to learn, train muscle memory. Miss training with you and Tammy. So yeah, so Kathy Shea was one of my early training partners, and then when I started my self-defense classes, took it for quite a while, and got pretty darn good. And this is where you can go from someone who's not empowered to someone who's empowered to someone who can actually really reduce the chances of being a victim in the worst way, right? Because our self-defense classes don't look for an MMA fight victory. It looks for, did I survive? Was I hurt less than I would have? Then that's a huge win, right? And so that is the thing. I think that's it. Love you guys and thank you. I appreciate you. And if you guys need anything, let us know, okay? Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.